Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
Listeners, I just want to say a special thanks to everybody that is listening to this podcast. If you're enjoying what we're doing, please share us. We're all over at We Hack Health on Twitter, Discord, Instagram, you name it, pretty much everywhere. But your support, your sharing of your experiences, this community is what drives us, what drives this podcast, and what allows us to be able to do this every single week for you. So if you're enjoying what we're doing, please share us out there. The more people we have to impact, the more people we have to help. That's our mission. That's our goal. And that's the whole thing about hacking your health. Thanks, everybody.
What are we talking about today?
All right.
Yeah.
Sound good to you?
Yeah. That could be our intro. So that's it. That's this week's podcast. Thanks for listening. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Ben Canning.
I'm Dave Kennedy.
And this is Hacking Your Health podcast, episode 96.
96. We're getting close to that 100 mark, man. We're gonna have to tease some stuff here.
Nope. We're not. Anyway, hi, Dave.
Whoa, hey, what's going on? Hey, everybody. You get that out again?
Yeah.
Thanks for not cutting out the last week's episode.
I told you I wasn't going to cut it out.
I should definitely expect you to.
We have to keep it real. I mean, I don't really.
Right, you can't just be editing people out and their opinions and views, right? I mean, it's all legit here.
Yeah. It's on the internet now forever. Anyway, how's your week been, dude?
It's good. I had
no. You've had a lot of stuff on, so it's been more than good.
Listen, Father's Day was yesterday, and it was actually really good because I got I skipped Saturday. I was so sore. Again, when I start to get the pain in the shoulders and the achiness and everything else, I started to get that, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take today off Saturday, and I'll go and lift legs on Sunday. And I had a good friend, one of my buddies, Chris, came over, and it was just good to hanging out with guys and talking. And, I think I lifted for 3.5 hours straight. Legs. Just
as Father's Day should be.
Well, that's actually every time I lift legs on the weekend. So nothing actually was different at all. But it was good to be able to do it, get it out. And I had a solid, I think I did, 5:35 for 3 3/4. So.
Okay.
So I almost have a rep count of 4 for deadlifts on 5:35, which is, when you think about that, that's some serious weight you're popping up there, for it. So it was really good. But then got to do some stuff around the house. Did some gym work. I got my red light set up all taken care of, which we'll talk about on the podcast. And then the really cool part was I got to go. Aaron and I went on a hour and a half journey in the DeLorean, and we ended up going through our local park here, which is where I always go for a walk at the lake area. And people just hovered our cars. We parked it, and there was I'd probably say 50 people hover around our cars with kids there, and everybody smiling, and it was just a really good Father's Day, and got to spend some time with my family and kids, and it was good. But it's been really hectic on work. I tell you, everybody has tried to cancel me being on this podcast, on every aspect. So
I think this is the latest that we've had. This is the latest, closest to the wire that we've had to record it.
It is. And what's crazy about it is, so I rescheduled it once, then I rescheduled it again, then I rescheduled it again. And we have no more rescheduling we can do. It's late your time. It's got to go out tomorrow. And then 5 people have hit me up for this time slot today. And I'm like, listen, I can't schedule that. Again, I told the CEO of my company, I'm like, bro, you rescheduled me twice so far. I'm like, I can't do it again. it's not happening at this time. So I'm glad to be on the podcast. I'm glad I was able to make it. This podcast almost didn't happen, and I had to fight off
by myself.
I'm like a little shank trying to shank people to get away from my calendar.
Well, I will say, I and everybody who's listening appreciates your time and you taking the time to do it.
Oh,
and shout out to everybody who didn't get this slot.
Yeah. You're all very upset with me at the moment. But and then last thing is we sponsored on a whim a brand ambassador for Binary Defense, which golf is a really popular sport here in the States. And the guy that was literally not supposed to win, he was like, I think it was like came in like last place or something like that. His name's Wyndham. We sponsored him for the PGA tours, and he ended up winning the entire Open, which is like a massive event. It's like the event.
I know.
And this guy won it, and so Binary Defense was everywhere. Like I was getting blown up by everybody. People I haven't talked to.
So was I. Even I. Yeah. Like even before he had won it. Like I think Ali texted me last week. Go screenshot. I'm like, is this the company Dave owns? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, this guy's going to win it. And I was like, okay. So I was getting it as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just man, things have been hitting on all cylinders. Businesses are doing great. Life is doing great. My fitness is doing great.
Listen, I got no award.
Got no complaints. Oh, and I guess that's a big one too. I won Entrepreneur of the Year Regionals Award from Ernst & Young. So it was a really cool event. My mom was there, and it's funny because like you beat out like, I don't know, like 2,500 companies or whatever. And out of that, there's like 30 finalists. And so you're like going through all these businesses, and it's 30 people, 30 companies there. And I'm sitting there in the background, and I'm like, I'm just gonna start drinking because there's no chance I'm winning this. So my mom and I are drinking in the back, and we're just bullshitting and everything else. And my company comes up, and then it showed like an intro. They had done pre-interviews with us and everything. It was really cool. My mom's super proud and everything. And so they're like, all right, now we're gonna announce the. And I think I was literally the last one. Like so we had to sit through like 2.5 hours of people's like things, and they had like a really funny like comedian type guy up there and everything. And but it's a super swanky fancy event, and I actually wore a suit. I'm like, I hate this sucks. But it's one of those ones where like you're like, listen, could I get away with just wearing jeans in a shirt, like a polo or something? And I got there, and there's not one person that was in jeans, not one. It was like literally like black tie event. I'm like, thank God I wore a effing suit because I had to go on stage. But I had not given any thought to my talk, speaking, because I was like, there's no chance. I'm like, this is cool just to be here, be part of this. And I didn't even think about the winning aspects. I'm like, well, there's just no way. So they're like, oh, the winner is Trusted Sec, David Kennedy. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I look at my mom. My mom looks at me. We're both like, and I think I'm like 3 or 4, like alcohol, cocktails in. And I go up there. I'm like, all right, here we go. I was going to wing it. And it was good though. It was really cool celebration and a good testament. The biggest thing is, if you surround yourself with good people, good things happen, right? Good karma, good people, positive energy. It is contagious. It absolutely spreads. And it's not like, there's not this magical force. I don't think that's creating positivity. You have to create positivity in your own life, and then from there things happen. And there might be a magic force too. I'm just saying, like, I don't think there's like this magic karma person that's like, hey, we're just gonna put good karma over here. You create good karma, by who you are as a person and things like that. And I've surrounded myself with some amazing people, and it's just a good testament to Trusted Second Binary Defense, the folks that the team we have here, and be able to recognize that and showcase it of what we do to make the world a safer place. And I think it's just an awesome opportunity. So it was cool. It was awesome.
I think that's a good segue into. I want to talk a little bit on environment. So like the people.
Well, we got to talk about you. How was your Father's Day, man?
I mean, you've ruined the fucking segue. I'm gonna clip this.
Sorry.
No, it was good. It was good. I lifted. I played some Call of Duty online. Shot some bad guys. Went there for dinner. It was pretty chill.
Awesome.
I didn't do any work for a full day, so that was a new thing for me. And I
randomly called Karina at 3:00 in the morning yesterday. So
you did, yeah. I mean, Instagram's a hard thing to use.
I'm just gonna set this up here. That there's a video that Karina had posted of Ben and Harper, playing together and everything else, and I thought it was really cute. And I just got done with the DeLorean ride. I don't use Instagram ever. Like I post like things here and there. And I go to Karina's thing, and I somehow hit like a call button, and I like, oh god, it's like 3:00 I'm trying to hit end. I hit end, and the phone falls, and Aaron's sitting over to like look at me like I'm an idiot, and she's like, seriously? I'm like it's like 3:00 there. So I texted Ben and me, I'm like, dude, listen, I'm so sorry, but I called you. I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, it was fine. I get it. Apps are hard. I get it. It's understandable. No, but it was good. I mean, it was good to just sort of chill out. Harper's so funny now. She's sort of at that age where she's like, she knows what's going on. So she knows it's like my day. So she's busy to come in with like a present and like just, so yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
That's awesome.
But anyway.
Now the segue to the that I messed up here. Notice here we are so rehearsed and sharp at what we do here at Hacking Your Health that
I should put that. I should intro the bit that I said when I hit record and said, right, what are we talking about today? Anyway, so I want to talk a little bit about environment. Number one is a bit of a sort of realization that I had myself this week, but I think it's a key thing to talk about for a number of reasons. How it came into my head was, I think it was Saturday I was training. And I used to remember all the time whenever I used to work in Gymco, the max amount of dumbbells were 50 kilos. So in my head, 110 pounds that is for those who can't convert. In my head, that was like, you complete the gym at that stage. You know what I mean? That's the heaviest set of dumbbells that you can lift, press, push, pull, lift, whatever shape you're moving them. So I was like, that's the max. Once you complete it, that's you. The gym that I train in now, they go up to like, there's 55, 65, 70. So 70 kilos is like 152 pounds, I think. So there's new levels, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And I think that the thing that sort of came to my mind was like, not that I wouldn't have known that there was heavier things if I hadn't been to that gym, but it's the knowing that there are more levels to the game. And I think it was important for me to sort of realize that in terms of that environment. But I think the environment piece feeds into sort of essentially every aspect to your life. So like you're saying, the people you surround yourself with, what they do, how they conduct themselves, even down to, I had a couple of people in their check-ins last week sort of say that they almost get guilted into things in terms of whether that's drinking or eating a certain way or doing a certain thing or not going to a certain thing because of whatever their goals are with the people. So I think there's a big piece around the people you surround yourself with and making sure that they are in line with you and what you're trying to achieve. And it was actually kind of cool. I was on the Hacks group call earlier on. And Thomas and Jen were on it, and they were sort of talking about how they've started to see the people around them come back to them now and ask them questions about the things they're doing. So one of the biggest things that they had to overcome was their social life and the people that they hung around with. You know, there was almost like that. There is no option not to drink in situations like that. Like it was, you know, social. I mean, I've been in situations like that. It's very food based or alcohol based or whatever. And I totally get it. And they sort of set themselves aside and were like, look, we can go and enjoy, but we don't necessarily have to partake in the drinking. We're trying to achieve this thing. We would appreciate if everybody could sort of be as on board as we are. And then sort of a few months down, they say they're now sort of getting people coming back and asking like, oh, you know, what are you doing? Or what can I do? Or I want to feel the way you do, or I see you're losing this weight, or you're doing this at the gym. Like I want to be involved in that. And I think that that's cool for them because they never thought they would be in that position essentially. And it's cool for me to sort of be on the inside of that and think about the ripple effect of all of this. So essentially, you know, me as a coach, each of the clients, the impact that they have around, the impact that has around, and how that sort of grows. But to take it back to environment, I think it's important for you to surround yourself with the right things, number one, and surround yourself with the right people and in the right places. In two ways. Number one, to make sure that you've got the things that you need around you, but also to try and avoid the temptations of things that are potentially in line with the person that you want to become or the things that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, environmental is such an important aspect, I think, to business, life, success, everything else. I mean, you know, I when I go out now, my health is priority first, right? So, you know, if I feel like drinking, I'll drink, but I don't feel pressured to go and do that based on kind of my surroundings. Even my friends recognize, you know, and know that I'm into like, in fact, if they see me like eating pizza, they're like, dude, how do you eat pizza and look like that? I'm like, well, that's because I'm not going to eat 17 pieces of pizza. Or if I do, you know, I'm just going to starve myself for the next 2 months. I'm just kidding. You know, I'm just going to say, okay, it's a day that I have a crappy day and I'm going to move on to the next day. But, you know, I think, you know, the type of environment that you are in is a product of who you end up becoming, right? And I think that's the same thing for, like, you know, we've talked about this before on the podcast before around, you know, if you're surrounded by negativity all the time, you're going to be a negative person, right? If you're surrounded by positive all the time, you're going to be a positive person. Your outlook on life is different. You know, your perspective of things is different. If you have a bad marriage, you're probably a dick at work, you know, like it's just, how things are at home impacts your work and vice versa. And those things, and I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but I mean, it's just one of those things where you are a product of your surroundings. And, if you're surrounded by terrible food, well, you're probably gonna eat terrible food. If you have healthy options, you probably have the ability to eat healthy, you probably will eat healthier. So, it's one of those things you have to be conscious of. And, we always talk about the mind body connection. Our mind is literally connected in every aspect in every way, to our bodies. So, if our mind is stressed, our body is stressed. If our mind is not in a good spot, our body's not in a good spot. These are things that we all have to really take into consideration as we move forward. And it's funny because, like, I get asked all the time, like, dude, how are you not stressed all the time running two companies and all of these issues? And, how are you not, following what's going on in the news in the world and, stressing you out there? And I'm like, listen, man, I focus on like what I can change and what I can impact. And I know that there's going to be things that are going to happen. And I know there's things that are not right and good in the world. I know there's things that, are horrible things, but I can't change that or impact it. So I'm not going to let it bother me. And I'm just going to focus on things I can do and I can change, and if there's a problem that happens at work, I'm like, okay, like, let's just listen to that problem. I'm not gonna let me stress me out. So, no, don't get me wrong. There's days where I'm like, I think there was one day where, I was just having like, there was like two unhappy customers that I was working on. It doesn't happen often. So like they have two in a day, let alone like 6 months, is really weird. And then like, I think like one of my like top employees had quit over a binary. And like and then one of my buddies, Dave, calls me, and it was just like a total bitch session. The whole, like, the universe had said, listen, I'm sending out a bat signal to everybody to mess with Dave today because he's having the worst day of his life. And so there are days like that, right? But the thing is like, that's just a day. I mean, fine, like, I hired a replacement. Those two customers are happy now. The conversation I had with my buddy Dave, it was fixed. So like, those things are minute in comparison to the rest of your life. But if you're just getting battered down every single day, or you're going out every single day with friends and their expectation is you're just going to get wasted and trashed, well, those are the things that are going to happen with you. And so we have to pick our own environments. We have to change our own habits in order for us to be successful in what we want to accomplish. And, the good news with that is it's all choices that we make. It's not anybody else. So, we have a choice to go and do something different. Even though it may be out of our comfort zone and maybe a little scary, we can still do it. And it works.
And I think the piece for me in that is being okay with being different, or being okay with changing. And that, I'm a prime example of this. Like, I used to be a pisshead. I used to go out 5-6 nights a week and drink myself into absolute oblivion. Whenever I started to change that, the people that I surrounded myself with then had an expectation of me. They expected that I would be there, that I would have a bottle of Hennessy in one hand and a bottle of Jägermeister in the other hand. That was their expectation of me. So whenever I started to change that narrative, there was a bit of friction of like, I used to get it all the time, like, you've changed. And it used to frustrate me. And I'm like, I'm trying to do something good here. So anytime I hear that, I'm like, yeah, I have. Like, Buck, I've really been working hard on changing. Like, thanks for recognizing it. But I think, it just, I guess that just came as an evolution from the sort of transition that I went through. Rather than us just saying that environment is important, I think probably having some sort of useful tips around that for people in terms of what they can do or how they can set things up is probably important. The first thing that I'll say is the people that you have closest to you that you don't completely want to cut out of your life is probably the best way to do it. You need to make sure that they understand why you're doing what you're trying to do. So it's easy to say to something, I just want to lose a bit of weight, or, I'm going to the gym or whatever. But they don't necessarily have an understanding as why, and or they potentially have seen you try it before and fail for X amount of reasons. So they maybe don't actually take it seriously this time. So sitting them down and say, look, I really want to give this a go. I need your support. So you're not necessarily asking them for permission to do it, but you're asking them to support you on the journey. So at least be mindful. The thing that I'll say on top of that is, I wouldn't want them or get them to just not include you in things, but ask. And if you say no, take no as your answer and not like peer pressure you into it, because it can be easy to crack in situations like that. And if you're in a situation where you're potentially trying to better yourself and you don't want to go to the thing and someone asks you and you say no and then they ask you again and you say yes because you're, you know, having a shitty day or whatever, and then you sort of fall into that spiral. It can be quite easy to like go back into your old habits because you've been doing it or you had been doing it for so long. So get the people who are closest to you on board with what you're trying to do. They don't necessarily need to do it for themselves, but if you can get them to understand what you're trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve it, it'll make those conversations and that friction a lot less.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The piece that you know I think we've talked about before here quite a bit is surrounding yourself with a tribe that has the same types of views and support, that will make you successful. Our minds are very tribalistic in nature, have been for thousands of years, where we have evolved to try to better society, you know, that we're in, the cities that we're in, the towns that we're in order to survive. And I was watching a video, and it was a scientist talking about, you know, listen, we're talking, you know, just only 100 or 200 years ago, you know, we had to go out and forage food or we die. Like we didn't have this mass agriculture or, you know, food readily available to us, and our bodies
didn't have Chick-fil-A 200 years ago.
Yeah, you never know. Never know. There's some pretty crazy conspiracy theories out there. Maybe there was a Chick-fil-A 200 years ago. You just don't know. Yeah, but obviously in jest. But the piece with that though is that, you know, we are a tribalistic type of creature. So if we are with groups that are similar in us to nature, whether that's negative or positive, that has an absolute effect on who we try to associate ourselves with and how we become. So, you know, if you're talking to your significant other or friend saying, listen, I need your help or assistance or support, versus again asking for approval, you know, most likely you're going to get a response back that's going to be favorable to you, right? In the sense that, hopefully, you know, right, that will that you should be able to, you know, get their support and hopefully allow you to be a little more successful because they're vested in your success and interest as well. So I think you know, we have to look at this in the sense that if you want to be successful in your health and fitness journey, or even just mental clarity or anything to that effect, you know, you need to have a support system to be able to do it. It's very difficult to do this all on your own. It really is. And I'm a good testament of that. You know, I could have worked out on my own. I wouldn't have been nearly as successful, you know, without the support of Ben and, you know, the BC crew and all the other folks out there that are supporting. I also, you know, from the success we see from other people with, you know, this We Hack Health movement is also really inspirational for us, right? I mean, because, you know, we see the success of people. We don't want to let these folks down and revert back or do something stupid. So it motivates us to go and do it because we're all part of kind of the same tribe or interests of what we're doing. You know, I think She Hacks Purple just recently did a blog post that was really awesome, talking about how we are a, you know, positive community focusing on this and what she's learned through her own experiences. You know, those types of things really motivate me every day to see those success stories of people hitting the gym, you know, or Boyd sending me a message saying, dude, I can't believe you killed it today. You look like the Hulk or something, you know, like those are great things to be a part of, and you're accomplishing something for your own and you're uplifting yourself with positivity. You know, why wouldn't you want to live happier? You know, you guys got to break the cycle a little bit and get out of your comfort zone to get to that.
And I think actually to sort of double down on what you're saying is not double click just before you hang up on the podcast. You know, the environment as you've described it within the hacking community is generally unhealthy, whether it's at the conferences or whatever. So that is the norm. So, you know, having people who are trying to step outside of that, whether it's within the client community or people using the hashtag or just whatever it might be. And one thing that I've sort of heard time and time again from clients, like if they go to conferences and they're trying to do something slightly different, shout out to Jason, who has tried to arrange a 5K at every conference that he's been at this year, which I think is cool. And he's getting a lot of feedback as like, you know, this is something that I'm really happy to see or wish had happened sooner, and not everything sort of centered around drinking. And it's like, there's people here who want this, and now there's people here who are, you know, I guess have the balls to change it, to make the jump, to make the change. So it's cool that, you know, that can potentially change the environment. I'm not saying that, you know, everybody has to not drink forever. You know, I'm saying it's about balancing the two things and not just drinking yourself into oblivion. So it's cool to sort of see that change beyond just what you inherited.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I look at, the folks that have been able to change their lifestyles, and you almost see like a rewiring or reprogramming of the brain, right? Where you see these folks start to realize that it is obtainable, it is doable. They start to recognize the confidence in themselves. They start to look at how their outlook of life is, their current things that they go and change, and they kind of start to slowly move in that direction. And then it's kind of like you're all in, right? And we've talked about the brain transformation that occurs in your rewiring, how your brain will basically fight you, especially if you start getting into like resistance training and things like that. And it's interesting. I went for my normal yearly checkup, and doctor said, "Oh my gosh, you continue to reverse age," which I'm totally cool with that. It's definitely the ketones, the raspberry ketones that I take, but
just as well. I've been sending you news for the past 3 years, and we're keeping that a secret from everybody else.
It's easy with the ketones, by the way. But the PCP is a new one that a new doc I went to. The current doc I went to got promoted and is running a division of the Cleveland Clinic. And so this new doc, he recommended me specifically to her because she was a data nut / longevity study person, like knew everything on TRT and HRT and everything else. And was like, he's like, "Listen, I found the perfect doctor for you to switch." He's like, I'm sorry I got to leave, but here you go. She's way better than me. I'm like, "Oh, sweet." So like I was skeptical at first. I'm like, well, this guy was pretty cool, but she was awesome. Like, she was talking about all the latest research studies on longevity and testosterone and, everything I was doing. And she's like, "This is amazing. 40 years old, you look like you're 25. Your blood work equally looks like you're 25. She's like, keep doing what you're doing. Here's some things I would recommend for you." And so it was a great dialogue back and forth. But one thing she had said was, she's like, I wish more people knew or spend the amount of time and knowledge that you did in order to make the transformation, because I meet with people all the time that they come in and they expect, this reactive approach of, "Hey, you have bad blood work. Here's a pill to fix that bad blood work," right? Or, "Hey, I'm depressed. Here's a pill to fix that depression," versus the lifestyle changes and people that you surround yourself with to be able to manage that in your own life, right? And what's interesting is you look at obesity and hey, let's say you're hitting diabetes and your cardiovascular health is off the charts and you're having blockages in your arteries. Well, yeah, I mean, surgery can correct that. Medication can reduce that, but is that really fixing the root cause of the issue? No, it's the obesity aspect of things, right? So, you kind of got to reflect inward out and say, what are the things that I can make a change in, to impact my life positively, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight. And, that's, again, surroundings, environmental, people, going out with nature and just listening to the birds, taking a break from things and letting your mind just kind of take a break and take in nature. It's interesting. There's a lot of studies showing out now around mental health, and I think it's called planting, which is not wearing any shoes and just walking on grass, right? Just walking and connecting with the earth and feeling the earth and feeling the grass and the dirt in your feet. And people are probably like, "Ooh, you're gonna get like you're gonna die," but no, it's okay. Like kids eat dirt all the time and they're perfectly fine, So it's funny because there's like this meme of the 5-second rule, of food. And it's like a Star Wars picture where it has like the force fields up and it's like these two Jedis waiting, to go in and kill this other Jedi. And it's like waiting 5, 4, 3, there's no bacteria at all until that force field drops. Right. So it's obviously these ridiculous things that we go through, but our surroundings definitely have a huge impact on who we are.
Agree. And I mean, not only the people that we surround ourselves with, but your actual environment as well. So, one big thing for me is in here, I try and keep like at least in front of me or what I can sort of see in my peripheral vision as clean and as clutter-free as possible so that I have a good working environment. So the same whenever it comes to nutrition, like I try and keep everything as clutter-free and not loads of shit food everywhere, because I know that there will be the time that I'll be sitting here and I'll think, "Oh, I almost have like a mental checklist of everything that's in the cupboard. So I'm like, I know that there's that packet of M&Ms in there, and I'm talking in my head all day about the M&Ms, and I'm getting the fucking M&Ms. So the environment in terms of like what you keep around you and how you sort of hold your space and stuff like that, I think is a huge part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so moving on to another topic I wanted to hit on too, which I think is close to environmental, but it's also, I mean, as long as you're good, not moving on.
But I mean, okay. I don't know where you're going, but I'm coming with you.
Okay. So environmental is one aspect, right? So how can we improve our surroundings, our environment, our people that are around us? And then also, how do we improve, ourselves, and how do we track that? How do we know that we're actually getting better in some way, shape, or form? And the reason it spawned is I get asked a lot. I try different things. Like I'm trying the new Ultra Human, which I'm doing my index finger now, by the way. So
you want to be like me? Are we got the same hand to your left hand?
We're like handsy brothers, and you can notice I still have my smash pinky. But this is not nail polish; it's I smash the shit on my pinky.
Like, on this will tie nicely into what I think you're going to talk about trying new things. So I got this life cycle stuff. This is just one example. Essentially, it's like mushroom extract. So there's different ones. It's just one of them, but one's like lion's manes for focus. The other one is like turkey tail for digestion. The reishi mushroom is for like skin, hair, and nails. So I mean, if I'm beautiful in a month's time, it's because I've been drinking these magic mushrooms or whatever they are.
Well, that's the thing. Like, how do you know this stuff is working, right? And like people are like, oh, you need to take this, you need to take this supplement, you need to take this. The truth of the matter is most of the stuff that you're going to do is going to have a very small, tiny fractional impact on your health, or you may not recognize the benefits until much later on, right? And so the question is, how do you invest in something knowing that, right? And how do you track that in some way, shape, or form? So one of the things that's great with these wearables, whether it's Whoop or Apple Watch or Garmin or Fitbit, this is the Ultra Human ring that just came out, and shout out to those folks over there. They've been doing a really good job. I'll tell you, the energy behind the CEO and the people there seems really cool. Seems like a great
their
culture.
Environment. Is that what you're saying? They've got a good environment.
Yes. Wow, look at the tie-in right there. So their environment from a company culture perspective. I mean, I made a tweet towards them, and I had pretty much like I think probably half their company responding back to me and retweeting. And
but even the girl Tanya that I have been dealing with, whenever she sent the CGM, like she sent me an email about your tweet.
Yeah,
so I'm like, So it's good to sort of see like everybody's keeping an eye on things.
And Mohit Kumar is the founder and CEO, and I think Vatsal Singhal is the co-founder. And what's interesting with those two is it looks like it generated heavily off of Kickstarter. And you're going against Whoop and Aura and ones that are heavily backed by VC and companies. And Whoop is obviously well established in the athletics, and you're already getting into like a wearable technology place where Apple, Samsung, a number of other companies are doing it. I look at them as a very interesting disruptor because of their environment. I think they publish their roadmap of what they're working on. So right now they're working on automatic workout detections, which is supposed to be published by I think software wise it's done in June. Then they're doing firmware testing, so by end of July you should have that completely implemented. But they have their roadmap fully published. They've taken a science-based approach and obviously have a lot of UI UX experience on that because it just looks slick. They map things to your circadian rhythm and actually back it with science. They're combining it with the CGMs. So I'm really happy with them overall. So, Ultra Human, I switched over and I'm not wearing my Whoop band, as you can see. I still am wearing my Garmin for right now, but I don't really need it. It does my step count, which I really like. And so very happy with that. But here's the thing. Those wearables can tell you some things about your body. Your heart rate variability, which is basically the time in between beats of your heart.
The difference in time.
Difference in time between your heartbeats. And it is the one of the single leading indicators of recovery or strain on your body. It's been directly linked to if your body is under significant strain, your heart rate variability will be lower. If you have an increased heart rate variability, it means that you're more recovered and active. So it's a way of baselining how you are feeling overall. It's not an ultimate indicator, but it's big. And obviously things like sleep, for example, how well are you sleeping? You can tell restfulness, things like that, as a way to kind of benchmark. And so these wearables can be very helpful in data showing, things like recovery and things to that effect. So if you have some sort of data elements, but also generally how you feel in nature, energy levels, sleep, mood, those are all key things. And Ben actually puts all of these into his tracker as well. How are you feeling today? Were you lethargic? Are there any injuries? How is your mental capacity? So you can track things that you eat that may have an impact on how you feel, but also maybe supplementation that may help you in certain areas. Things like vitamin D, for example, known to be like what's called the happy sunny pill, right? You can be depressed and feel depressed if you lack vitamin D. Multivitamins, things like that may have an impact. There was just a recent study, and this is one that I really want to highlight on because I think it's really important. And again, this is only in animal trials, so don't take it for what it's worth currently. But it does seem promising because taurine is basically in a large majority of energy drinks, which is what I'm drinking right now. Actually has what does it have for taurine? It has 1,000 milligrams of taurine. I've already taken 3,000 earlier in supplementation. So I'm at 4,000. Some live like 10 times longer. But this new study showed that basically with mice, if you were to supplement with taurine, which is an essential amino acid, basically, and we get this through eating meats and things like that, that it had a substantial reduction or had an increased longevity impact of anywhere between 10 to 23%. And what I mean that is the mice lived 10% to 23% longer just by supplementation of taurine. Now, why that's statistically important is that, mice are very similar in nature to humans. The studies don't always correlate back and forth, but taurine has been known for a long time to be good for our bodies. Supplementation of it seems to increase our ability to live longer because as we get older, our taurine levels substantially drop. So this could be a really good supplement to focus on. But again, you're probably not going to see any immediate benefits of maybe energy or things like that, but maybe you're going to live 10 to 15% longer, or 23% longer. So take it for what it's worth. But there are things that like saunas, for example, that I've used have noticed a substantial difference in recovery. So days that I, go to the sauna, I noticed that the next day my recovery is substantially faster. My HRV levels are shot up. My sleep is substantially better. I feel better. I feel more energetic. And even after the sauna, post sauna, I'm relaxed. I'm comfortable. I feel good. I feel like I accomplished something. My dopamine levels shoot up and I feel great. So there are direct impacts of certain things that I can statistically tell based on how I feel, also backed by medical research and science too. Just recently, I invested in red light therapy, which is that, for the longest time, I'm like, what is this witchcraft? This is total bullshit. I'm like, red lights, seriously? Like, you're going to help me regrow my hair? You're going to, do this? And I'm like, this is bullshit. And then you actually start looking at the studies and you're like, okay, now that I understand the mechanism of what's actually occurring here. And so what's happening is the red light hits a certain wavelength that penetrates our skin, which impacts what's considered like the super cells or the energy production of our cells, the mitochondria. And when it hits the mitochondria, it causes them to go crazy with energy production as well as stimulates them, which then, has all of these positive side effects. So from a cellular perspective, they say increase energy production, increase recovery, better skin, acne removal, scar removal, better, just like there's a whole list of a ton of things that is supposed to be beneficial. It was covered by, Huberman, facial texture, stretch marks, inflammation of cells reduction, sun damaged skin reduction, hair growth in people with androgenic alopecia. It increases fibroblast production, which makes collagen. Collagen is a component of connective tissue that builds skin. So, again, the mitochondria is a huge, component of this, and the wavelength stuff is big. Now, I can't tell you right now whether or not it's making a difference because I've only started using it for a couple of days. But I invested in it. I'm trying it out. And, I'll report back based on what I see from a recovery perspective. There's days when I'm going to try it without a sauna and see if I still have, ample recovery times from there. If I'm all of a sudden I come up and I have like long, lengthy hair, in 2 days, let you know it's working. But, these are the trial and error things that, may make a difference, may not in your life. I'll tell you, testosterone was a huge game changer for me. I can tell immediately brain fog, clarity, energy levels, sex drive, everything else just shot through the roof, right? Testosterone is a phenomenal thing for men with low testosterone. Again, I emphasize low testosterone. Not everybody needs testosterone replacement therapy, nor should you be putting hormones in your body if you don't need it. But there's certain things that you can augment that you can measure based on how you feel, but also the data that we have now available to us, whether it's through a CGM, a continual glucose monitor, whether it's through something like an ultra human ring device, whether it's through a Garmin or a Fitbit or a blood pressure monitor. These are all things that we can use as at our disposal to really track progress and metrics and how things go. But again, there are things that we're not going to know, like fish oils, for example, may have a decrease in LDL or HDLs, from a cholesterol perspective, improve the good ones, remove the bad ones. But they've shown fish oil stats, studies that fish oil is probably one of the biggest things that we can probably supplement for longevity. Like a smoker with fish oil lives longer than a non-smoker with non-fish oil is some of the stats that are out there.
Insane.
It's crazy, right? And so like those types of things we can say, well, from a longevity perspective, I'm okay taking these long-term knowing that I'm not going to be able to see it on my Whoop device or something like that, right? But some of these we can actually see direct impacts and changes in what we do, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, I think for me, there's a scale to it, as with everything. Like you said, there's things that you will notice a immediate response to. You'll notice an immediate reaction to, feel good factor, whatever it is. There's stuff that you can see, like in terms of how you feel. Then there's stuff that you can see in terms of like what the data says. So if you have a set of data markers for a month where you don't use a specific insert, whatever it is, and then you use it for a month, and you can see that the data changes in terms of your recovery, your sleep, your rest and heart rate, whatever it might be. You can see it in the data. There's then the blood work, for example. If you're talking about fish oils, like you can actually see a direct correlation to it improving your blood work. And then the ones that we potentially won't know for another 30, 40, 50 years, you need to sort of weigh up, is it worth sort of that commitment to the potential that I'll live 10 to 23% longer? In most cases, for me, I guess it is. But I think understanding two things. Number one, you need to have a baseline in terms of your data, whether that's your blood work, whether that's your HRV, whether that's your sleep, whatever it is, because there's no point in, okay, I'm going to start this thing and hopefully it improves. You've nothing to go by. Like you've no start point to compare. The best way I can describe this is whenever I take on new clients and they're a bit hesitant about taking their very first before pictures and they don't do, and they get 6 months in, they're like, oh, I wish I had those pictures. You don't have the visual comparison of what way have I changed? So get a baseline first, blood work, data from whatever sort of fitness device monitor that you want to take, and then insert whatever it is that you want to trial out to see whether it's actually making any impact. The other big thing is I often try and step away from the wearable tech for amounts of time. And that's why in the check-in sheet, there is a question of like, how do you actually feel? It's not, what does the Whoop tell you your recovery is today? Like, how do you actually feel as a person before the device tells you how you feel? So stepping away from sometimes you can get caught up in what the data actually says. And one good tip that I took from Jason months and months, potentially even a year ago, he says his sort of trial for things is he'll do the research, whatever it might be, new pre-workout, new thing to help him sleep, whatever it might be. And he'll go through one tub phase, month, whatever it might be. And then he'll stop taking it and he'll notice, he says he would notice the difference of not having it versus the difference of having it. So the negative effect of not having it versus the positive effect of having it. If he notices the negative impact, then he'll reintroduce it. And I think that that's a pretty decent way to do it, because I know you very well. And if I recommend something, you're probably going to order it. And then if you just keep adding these things in, you end up with like 60 tablets that you take in your morning. Like, why the fuck am I taking all these things? So actually like testing them, seeing if they actually work, seeing if you actually feel any different or any better, or they're making a difference in terms of your metrics or your blood work or whatever it is for, I think is important. Have the baseline, make the change, take it out to see if you feel any negative impact, and then go again.
Yeah, they for the longest time, I very much got into the habit of using my devices and relying solely on what it said, right? Not how I felt. And there are days where I'm just like sluggish as hell and dying, but my Whoop says I'm at 94% recovery. So I'm going to go out there and blast my body, right?
Whoop, you don't know me.
Yeah, yeah, right. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm dying here, but I'm going to try it anyway, right? No, there's definitely a major component of data and having the right mindset and feeling. Now, here's the thing. you know, every day that I go to the gym, I don't feel super motivated to go to the gym. It's not like every day I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to go there. Like there are some days like that for sure. But there are days where I'm like, shit, I don't want to go to the gym, but like I have to go to the gym. So, I will still go. That's a discipline and consistency thing, right? Than it is anything else. But it's not one of those things where if I'm looking at Whoop and I say, well, Whoop's telling me I'm at 20% recovery, I can't go to the gym. That's not the case. Or, I might take a day of a breather if I'm feeling just totally battered to shit, right? Because like Saturday, I just felt totally battered to shit. Like I had a really big lift on Friday. Then I had Orange Theory on Friday. So Saturday I was a wreck. And so I'm like, there's no good for me going to the gym today. Like it's just not, but I'm going to go tomorrow. There's no excuse for me not to go tomorrow. So we definitely have to look at the impact that these devices have on us, not solely rely off of them. It is largely how you feel. And when I get asked that question online around, hey, have you noticed a difference? I think that's an important question because, if you're doing something that you've made an investment in, you probably want to take a look and say, well, hey, is this actually having a impact on me in some way, shape, or form that I can represent the spend or the routine or habit change that I have to do in order to support that? Like now I have to dedicate additional 5 to 10 minutes a day for this red light therapy. Is that something I'm committed to do, knowing that there might not be a benefit, right? So these are the things that you have to look at as you're going through and kind of measuring these, that I think not a lot of people think through, the impact it's going to have on you. If you're going to invest in a Whoop device, or an Ultra Human, are you actually going to look at the data and spend some time in it, or is that app never going to open? Or are you just going to check it out for steps?
I think that's an important one because, well, two sides of that. Number one, I think it's important because people will ask you and people will ask me, and we're very fortunate that we can look at things, want to experiment with it, see if it's worthwhile, and give our feedback on it. But some people won't want to invest in every single wearable device that ever comes out, which is understandable. But in terms of actually like having the thing and doing something with it, I used to see this quite a lot in terms of people like, oh, I've been tracking my food for 5 years and I haven't been able to lose any weight or gain any muscle. I'm like, okay, well, what have you done with the information that you've got from MyFitnessPal? And like, oh no, I just track it. I'm like, what the fuck's the point in that? Like, if you're just tracking and doing the same thing, obviously nothing's going to change. Just because you put your food into MyFitnessPal doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. It's like looking at the data, looking at how it affects your body, and then making the change based on that. So are you actually using the data for something, or are you just collecting it to collect data?
Yeah, and the stats, like I don't regimentally follow as much as I used to my data with Whoop or everything else. It's more for me, it's a pulse check on my habits. And how I feel is usually overriding those specific things that the band tells me to. Like a good example is, when I do my weekly check-ins, I'm checking, sleep statistics. That's obviously really important. And, it's great to be able to say, well, shit, I had a bad sleep day. I really need to focus on sleep today. And that was, wholeheartedly Sunday, Father's Day, but I woke up at like 6:30 in the morning to go lift with Chris. So it's like I was waking up super early and I went to bed late because I was just doing a bunch of projects at home. So, I got some really bad, sleep that day. So the next day I went to bed early. I think I was in bed yesterday at like 9:30 at night, and I got a solid, 8 hours of sleep, which I knew my body needed. So, these are the things that you kind of have to play with. And these are just more consistency guiders, I think, than anything. And kind of a baseline of like, hey, if you're, if your HRV or your heart rate variability is like total crap, the past 2 weeks, well, what's changing your lifestyle? Is it stress? You're not giving yourself time to recover. Do you need just to take a day and chill and go in the sun and relax on the beach? What's the drivers for low, low heart rate variability that you need to reflect back in and say, well, am I doing things different? If I feel like total shit, well, have I been eating like crap the past couple of days? Yeah, I've been eating like crap the past couple of days. So I feel crummy, right? My body's like, hey, why aren't you eating whole foods and stuff that's from the earth and stuff like that? So these things we can definitely change patternistically based on how we are focusing on things in our life. And that Torian says is a great example. And by the way, I didn't mention where it came from. This was from SciTech Daily, but it was a published article that came out from, we'll link in the notes, but it's from science.org. And that's where it came out from. So it's just a taurine deficiencies as a driver of aging, essentially, which is really cool because it shows that as we get older, taurine deficiencies are directly linked in humans, by the way, to aging. So it would make sense, in mice studies, that it increases lifespan. In human studies, we know that taurine deficiencies increases aging and shortens lifespan. So those two correlations together make a pretty powerful statement for taking taurine. But again, how do these things impact our lives, and how do we make changes and support them so that we can support the environmental changes, the other changes that we need to make in life?
And the sort of, I guess, overarching thing on this, and I stole this from a conversation I was listening to, I think it was on the Mind Pump podcast with Ben Greenfield. At what stage do you draw the line of spending your entire life doing things and taking things and chasing things that are going to improve the amount of time that you live? So, like, are you spending your time doing things that are going to increase the length of your life just to live longer, to spend time doing the things to increase the length of your life? So you need to weigh it up, like, is this worth it? Is this worth it in terms of how I'm going to feel, or what the benefits and the sort of the financial and the time commitment that you're going to put into it? And it's not a case of, there's that story about the billionaire that's like, he takes 160 capsules a day and he's like reversing aging or something. I'm like, that's cool and all for a news article, but I don't want to spend my life taking tablets and like injecting myself with stuff. So you need to weigh up its benefits, like what you're actually trying to achieve and what you can actually commit to.
Yep. So wrapping up on the podcast, I wanted to play something that was kind of inspirational to me. And I it's from a TikTok person, so this could be totally bullshit. I don't know this person in general, but the words were inspiring to me because it's very similar to. It's not on TikTok. It was a Facebook reel that was from TikTok, if that makes sense. Like I said, I don't know. This is Liz Da Silva. Liz Da Silva. So again, I don't know who that person is, but it was very inspirational. I actually enjoyed the commentary on it. And this is kind of how I decide to live my life, right? This is like the kind of the people I'm in on. If I'm spending time with somebody, it's meaningful, right? And so I'm gonna go ahead and play this because it has everything to do with environmental. Okay, and give me a thumbs up if you can hear it too, Ben. 1 second. Here we go.
Here's the thing you should know about people who never ask for anything and never seems to need any help from anybody. If they're in your life, it is because they want you there, not because they need you there. That person has designed their life where your presence or absence has minimal impact on their ability to function or live. Those people typically have very few people in their lives, and the ones that they do, they cherish because they see them as a bonus. They see them as a gift. So although they are very grateful for those people, as you know, we don't actually need bonuses and gifts. That person will 100% of the time make intellectual decisions above emotional decisions when it comes to protecting their peace. Please consider this when you decide how you are going to treat them today.
But that was pretty good.
Yeah, huh? I agree. Yeah, and I tied everything in well. I think we've wrapped everything up there really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, appreciate everybody listening to this week's podcast that took hell and high water to get here, but we're here. Like, dude, I'm not even joking. Like, since we've had this podcast, I've had like 4 other interruptions of people trying to get me on a call. So like, it was destined to happen. So, and I fought it off, but back to regular scheduled programs coming
maybe maybe not.
Yeah, maybe no. No, I'm glad we can get this off. And sorry for the scheduling snafus, but obviously nobody in the audience recognizes that.
But we do share it because we keep it real.
Yeah, keep it real. Absolutely. There's no fakeness here. So, but appreciate tuning in next week for another awesome podcast and episode, getting close to that 100 mark.
We're not telling anybody anything about anything.
That's right.
Because neither of us know.
That's right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good one.
See you next week.
Later.